When we say fastest growth in 4 years, is it a sign of recovery or is it just a statistical bounce from previous lows?
Because it's what everyone can see. It is visible. When you see something is visible to the blind, meaning that even the blind that literally should not see already knows that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Everyday Money Matters, your trusted guide to making sense of the economy and how it affects your pocket. I am your host, Oge Obierika. It is the month of October. Happy New Month, by the way, and it's a special one as Nigeria marks its independence. It's that time when we reflect on how far we've come as a nation and where we are headed, especially in terms of the economy and our financial well-being. Speaking of the economy, Nigeria recorded a 4.23% growth in the second quarter of 2025, the fastest in 4 years. The oil sector surged by over 20% and non-oil sectors showed growth as well. And of course, on paper, this looks great, but in reality, many Nigerians are wondering if the economy is even improving at all because we aren't seeing it. Prices are still high, jobs are hard to come by, businesses are struggling. So today we are going to unpack the big question. Is this growth just mere statistics or does it mean something real for you and me? And to help us do that, I'm being joined by Tolulope Fasanya, a researcher who has been following the trends closely. Welcome, Tolulope.
Thank you, Ogechi.
Let's start with the headline number, 4.23% GDP growth in Q2, the fastest in 4 years. From your perspective, what does this figure really mean?
Okay, so I would start by reiterating or enlightening viewers for the sake of those who have been hearing what GDP is, GDP without fully understanding what it means. GDP means gross domestic product. This means how productive an economy is. So it simply means that the productivity of the economy increased by 4.23%. So it means that the production of goods increased, the production, rendering of services increased. So the capacity of the economy expanded, more like utilizing the capacity that the economy has. Right. So that's what 4.23 GDP means. That's what GDP means. So that the fact that the economy grew by 4.23 GDP and percent and grew faster than what we had last quarter and the previous quarter for the past 4 years does not mean that prices are increasing in certain places. It simply means that the economic's productivity is growing.
All right. When we say fastest growth in 4 years, is it a sign of recovery or is it just a statistical bounce from previous lows?
It's a mix of both. I won't say there are some sectors because when you're talking about the productivity of the economy, the aggregates, right? Before we have the aggregates, we need to disaggregate, right? So we're talking about how sectors performed, right? So we have about 46 sectors that the economy has been disaggregated into. Mm-hmm. So all of these 46 sectors, we're looking at their contribution to the economy. We're looking at their growth. So while some sector actually rebound, right, some sector just continue to grow. So that's it. So it is not just statistical figure. Those figures are not just statistical. They represent what the economy has been doing in actual sense. So while some macroeconomy variables would actually impact directly the daily living of the citizens, it is not all macroeconomy that actually have so much significance or direct impact on each citizen's daily living. So yeah,
Right. We'll come back to how that impacts the daily lives of average Nigerians. But first, we saw the oil sector jump by more than 20%. Now, oil has always been central to Nigeria's economy. But how sustainable is this kind of growth given the global oil price volatility?
exactly. I'll take it from the global oil volatility. Um, for the Q2 2025, when we talk about the oil sector, there are different components: the downstream, the upstream. We're also going to be talking about oil refinery. We're going to be talking about Nigeria's trading oil in the international market. So we're going to be talking about, when we're talking about value of something, especially in economics, we're talking about the quantity and the price, right? That gives us the total value. So for the oil sector, right? Um, Looking at both the price and the volume, the quantity, the economy starts at produced about, on an average, 1.68 million barrel per day for the oil, billion barrel per day for the oil, and the million barrel per day for the oil. And in corresponding quarter, which is Q2 2024, the economy was producing on the average 1.41 million barrel per day. Q1 2025, it was around 1.6 million barrel per day that the economy was producing. So in this sense, we're saying that the oil production increased, right? The economy has the capacity to even produce more, but at least the quantity produced per day increased during that period, right? So which is actually a jump, right? When it means that production increased significantly. But is it sustainable? We need to also look at price, right? The global price actually affects our own price, right? Given the Bonny Light crude oil price. Bonny Light crude oil is Nigerian crude, the major one being traded in the international market. We have about three of them, all from Niger Delta, right? Prices, when I checked the CBN's data, prices fluctuated in Q2 around 66 to 80, right? To $80, $66 to $80, which means that price fluctuation would continue to affect. But if the economy continues to produce more, so let's say Q3, which we're yet to have the results, at least we're round off Q3 as of today, Tuesday, 30th of September. By the time the result of Q3 is being produced, we also need to check as the quantity of oil produced increased. What are the factors that made it increase, right? What are the factors that make oil production increase? Other sector, other aspect of oil, refining. So we saw that oil refining also performed, like it is also part of the sectors, the breakdown of the sectors that we have. So oil refining also performed, better in Q2 2025. So we're saying that if volume continue to increase, right? If volume continue to increase and we're still in line of the quota that is being allotted to Nigeria from OPEC, because there's also quota of oil that each country may not surpass. Do you understand? And if prices continue to do well in the global, but the volatility in the global markets cannot be controlled by Nigeria. It is an external shock, right? So we can only augment that with the volume. And another thing is that reports have shown that half of the year, oil theft, vandalism has been, properly managed. It has reduced significantly. And of course, if we've had a lot of oil theft, oil vandalism, all of this are usually reported in the news. And it's been quite a while that we've had series of news that tells us that there's oil vandalism somewhere, there's oil theft somewhere. So that has also reduced. So if all of this, if volume and oil theft continue to be managed properly and we have increased volume, of course, the oil sector will continue to improve quarter on quarter. But as to the price, we actually have absolute almost no control over
Over it.
what the price would be.
Okay, so if oil is driving this growth, does it mean that we are still being overly dependent on it despite years of talk about diversification?
Well, I would say that Nigeria economy still needs to diversify more, but the economy is actually, is actually thriving in other areas that are non-oil. We would see that the service sector contributed about 56% to GDP growth for Q2, right? We also observed that the industry contributed more to about 17% to GDP, right? So Nigerian economy is getting more diversified, and that was why when they rebased, they actually had to capture some other areas of the economy that were previously not properly captured in the previous system. So what am I saying is Nigeria is still very much dependent on oil. Very much dependent on oil. But is there diversification? Is there diversity? I think we have that. I mentioned my last contribution to this talk, right? I said the creative industry continues to grow. We also saw that the real estate and construction also added. That has grown significantly, right?
I was coming to that. The non-oil sectors which contributed, sector. To the growth. You already touched lightly on it, but can you break down which areas actually contributed and whether Nigerians in those sectors are feeling the impact?
Yeah, other non-oil sectors that are contributing includes trade, real estate, the financial sector, the banking sector especially. So are they feeling it? Yes. Now, what do I mean? I would use real estate as examples because it's what everyone can see. It is visible. When you see something is visible to the blind, meaning that even the blind that literally should not see already knows that real estate is a big thing right now. I mean, almost real estate is employing a lot of people. I have seen a lot of youths that graduated from school that are not well employed previously that are currently in real estate. Almost everyone is selling one property or the other. We have spring of new real estate companies employing more people. So yeah, real estate sector has been employing more people, and increase in employment means that people are getting income, right? So people that were previously jobless that has been employed by this sector are currently earning. They would say that their lives are quite better. Depends on how much they make now. So how much they make as income is a different conversation. But the fact that they're now employed and they're making, they are getting income, right? They are able to get more people to buy property. They are making money off it. Of course, it improved their lives. So trade, those that are involved in trade, the sector has grown, and we also need to check. There are some sectors that grew in this quarter that was reported Q2 that they were previously not performing up to capacity, but now they are performing up to capacity. Such sectors may not be employing as much, right? They may not have new intake of labor into the sector, but the sectors that have grown significantly that we all can feel the impact is the real estate. At least on your WhatsApp contact, you have at least 2 to 3 people that are selling property, that are in real estate, that are advertising one landed property, that are advertising edifice of offices. The fact that we also have more startup, more businesses, more young people that are trying to do business. They are also patronizing those real estate people because they also need to get office spaces, right? We have different shortlets. That's because some things are happening in that particular sector. The financial sector, that's the banking sector especially, I won't say they're probably employing more. Yeah, they would be employing more, but would I say that they're employing significantly? I wouldn't say, right? But recapitalization is happening to banks, right? Where banks in different category, we have those that are categorized as international banks, those that are categorized, excuse me, as regional, those that are categorized as national. Regional, at least they have branches in some African countries. International, they have outside of Africa. Regional, they are national, they are still within. Operating within the country. So they need to meet different capitalization. So how much capital they should have. So a lot of them are not on that level, and they've been raising, right? Some fundraising happened towards Q4 2024, but we have more of that fundraising in Q2 2024, where all these banks are selling rights issues for existing, and public offer for non-existing shareholders, and people are buying. So that sector increased because the capitalization needs to increase, and all of them needs to meet up with requirements at least by say March 2026, which is just a few quarter, like 2 quarter from here. So what am I saying? This has also contributed to the economy. Now, is this sector employing people? Yes, we've been having. They always have graduate trainee programs. They always employ. So some of these sectors, right? While real estate sector may not need a lot of experts, do you understand? A lot of experts that would be recruited, meaning almost anybody who can sell, who can read and write, who can communicate, can be employed. Of course, there will be other aspects of the real estate that needs technical people, technical labor that would be definitely employed. So skill sets, right? For banking, aside graduate training, to be employed into banking sector, at least if it is not graduate training, the labor, the people that would be employed into that sector would have to have some set of skills that the bank could employ them. So yeah, there are sectors that are growing that we can also see, and it's affecting people's life. So people are being employed, and employment translates to income. Income translates to what's it called? Disposable income after tax and other deductions have been made. So yeah, these are areas that, and of course, there is unequal or uneven growth in the different sectors. So it is the sector that one is able to benefit or being employed into that now matter. So productivity, when productivity increases, means that we need more people that would be able to do that job, right? That will be able to do that job. So employment, basically, because it talks about the size of the economy, and when there's employment, cash in hand betters the life.
So we can conclude that these sectors are actually making a difference.
Yes, they're actually making a difference. So, and the government is also advocating that all sectors should thrive, should expand, should in their operations, in their productivity. And that's why the president said a while back that he wants to achieve a $1 trillion economy. Currently, for Q2, the nominal GDP in value terms was around 100 plus trillion, right? Naira, 100 trillion naira, over 100 trillion naira, right? If we convert that to dollars, that's about what? Say we use about 1,500 as exchange rate. We're going to be having about maybe 65 million dollar economy for that Q2. But at the end of the year, we need to now go back to that. So how much did the economy produce in the year? So it means that the more the economy grows, the more we need people, the more we need labor, the more we need capital, right? And as the economy grows, it continues to. So it is quite uneven, but it now depends on the each sector's growth. I would also like to mention that the insurance sector is one of the sectors that has not fully utilized its potential, right? So by the time it's fully utilized its potential, it will employ more people. And the government signed Insurance Act that should help that particular aspect of the financial sector to boom, right? Things that people should ensure. Right, we can insure a lot of gadgets. We can insure there are a lot of vehicles on the road that are not insured. There are a lot of properties that are not insured. If those are getting insured, if they are enforced to be insured against risk, that it means that the insurance sector will also grow. And as that sector grow, they will need, some areas of their operations that they need more expertise or more people. So yeah, that's it.
Well, on the street, many Nigerians are saying they don't feel the change, and that's quite understandable as food is still expensive, transportation is costly, unemployment is high. Why does economic growth often fail to translate into relief for ordinary people?
So that was why when I said on the show, I had to explain what economic growth is. Productivity is increasing. What you produce is increasing. So an individual can identify what sector they can also start producing something. There are people that are producing things now. You need to find the gap. You need to find a gap in different sectors according to your skill set, according to your capacity, even if you don't have skill sets that you can fill in, right? That you can fill in. So there are gaps everywhere in different sectors that people can fill in. Why are people not feeling the impact? I've mentioned that there's uneven growth, uneven contribution, which means that it is the impact will not be felt by everybody at the same time. And it also depends on where they are able to play into. Now, for those that are currently employed into real estate, into banking, that are currently doing trade, that are employed into the creative industry, at least people that are in the creative industry, you want to shoot content. A lot of people might have to employ someone that will be editing their videos. A lot of people might have to start buying gadgets. If I want to start now, I need to buy gadgets, right? It means that if you want to feel the impact, you identify gaps. You already know that there are a lot of people going into content. You can sell mics. You can sell cameras. You can sell tripod. You can sell things. Those things are growing, right? So why people will not feel the impact is inflation. Inflation is what makes people feel the impact, and even inflation erodes the value of the productivity of the economy. So the 100 trillion that I mentioned, naira that I mentioned earlier, is a nominal term. In real term, that's almost half of it, about 51 trillion naira. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how will it translate if the economy is already operating at full capacity? I mean, each sector is operating at full capacity. If they need to grow, they will employ more. But if they are currently not operating at full capacity and they are now doing more, it means that even with their growth, they are still within their capacity. Do you understand? Let me put it to practical example. Say, this is a machine. It can produce 1,000 sachet of anything, and it's currently producing 50. It means that it is still not fully utilized, right? It's not being utilized up to capacity. If its production increased to 60, it is still within its capacity. If its production increased to 800, it's still within capacity. But by the time you start producing 1,000, it has gone beyond capacity. Then we now need another machine to produce over the capacity that this can produce. So yeah, that is why people will not feel it, because it depends on the sectors they are able to play in, the sectors that are growing, the skill sets they have, what gap they are able to identify, what they are able to contribute in terms of how to make income for themselves.
So we can conclude that this growth is just at the top level. It hasn't quite trickled down.
It has trickled down, right? It's not at the top level. On the aggregate,
because you've said a couple of times that the growth is uneven.
Different sectors. Some sectors grew faster than other sectors. Some sectors are growing, some sectors are not growing. For sectors that are not growing, it means that they're not employing. And sectors that are growing means they are employing, or they are also tendency to increase the remuneration, the wages of people that are in that sector. So it depends on the sector that people have opportunity to play in. Do you understand?
Okay.
So a lot of people are doing content and making money now.
I agree.
Yes, a lot of people are selling lands and making money. In fact, on one land or one house, a person can make over 5 million just for one deal. Such person will not say that he or she is not feeling the impact of the economic growth.
Right. But how should everyday Nigerians interpret this report? Should people see it as hope for better days ahead, or is it simply another set of numbers that doesn't quite affect their lives directly?
Well, I'll say hope for better days ahead, because as the sectors grows, the economy grows. And as sector grows, it would probably reach more people. More unemployed people will be employed. More people. So also companies manufacturing things, right? That's the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector grew. If the manufacturing sector grew, they will employ both skilled and unskilled labor. So people can, those that can offload things from vehicles, drivers, more drivers, I think trickling down to because people that would say they are not feeling so much are those that are in that are not literate, right? So companies would be able to employ more drivers, more cleaners, more office assistants, and all of that. So it's translate to employment, and employment to so if the country continues to grow, it means that there will always be need for people, always be need to get more people, to get more. We have two contributions: labor and capital. Capital means mention, right? So yeah.
So in conclusion, Tolu, because one thing we can actually agree on is the fact that there are still gaps.
A lot.
Yes. So do you see any policy moves by the government right now that could bridge that gap between growth on paper and growth that actually reflects in people's pockets?
Well, there will always be policies, and policies, depending on what policy, what area of the economy the policy is addressing, right? So it is the areas of the economy that the policy is addressing that will determine the set of people that will be feeling the impact. Right. Of course, there are also general policies. We have the MPC court, right? It affects. I won't say the court is not significant. It's not a lot, so it's not significant, and it affects loans, how people get loans, individuals, businesses, small and medium scale businesses, how they get loan. That means how they get capital to fuel their business. And, when more capital is pumped into a properly managed business, it grows, right? So it means that people would have a little bit more access to getting loans than previously. It also means that businesses, right, we have more loans, so there should be more access, a little bit of, reduced rates for people to get access, both large corporations, businesses, medium entrepreneurs or enterprises, and small enterprises will be able to get loan, individuals too. So yeah, I mentioned the Insurance Act the other time. It means that if the insurance, if there are certain aspects of the insurance services that the Insurance Act is actually advocating for, it means that they will need to employ people that will be, that would get to onboard clients or customers for each insurance companies. And if you need more people, if the people they currently have in the system are not enough to get, just like banks, you see banks there was a certain period where almost on campuses everywhere you see people employed by banks that are actually looking for people to onboard with their bank. The same thing will happen for insurance policies. You see people asking you, do you want to? And insurance companies are also asked to recapitalize now. Also, I think pension houses. So for the Insurance Act, insurance companies may need to employ more. So yes, would there be more reforms and policies Of course, because the government needs to continue to think of how to ensure that its policies affect different sectors. So are there sectors that the government policy or government have not given any reform in recent time, or have not had new policy and that might need, well, if the government gets there, would fine. But then for the ones we currently have, fine, it's working. It's working.
All right. Thank you so much, Tolulope Fasanya, for helping us break all of that down. Clearly, the numbers show progress, but the real challenge is in making sure that this growth is felt in homes, in businesses, in marketplaces across Nigeria. And as we celebrate the independence this October, perhaps the real independence we need is economic independence, one that can be felt by everyone, one that means growth that uplifts everyone, not just figures on a chart. And that's it for today's episode of Everyday Money Matters. I am Oge Obierika. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us next time as we continue to make sense of money matters that affect you every day.